Hi, everybody. I saw there were a few people waiting, so I thought I'd just come on a few seconds earlier. So, hi, JT. Hi, Shawnee. I think there's a couple more as well. They've not commented though yet. We'll just give it a minute or so and see how many people come on. Just a quick check. You can, I assume, see me and hear me now? Just let me know if you can. Give me a yes or a thumbs up or something. Thanks for that. I was getting a bit concerned there for a second. I think the comments are coming through a little bit slower. And there was a pregnant pause there. So I was wondering. Sean, hi. April, hi. Isaac, hi. A few more people coming in now. I've got my bigger cup of coffee on standby. Jack and Jill, hi. And a couple of people saying Happy New Year. I hope it is a Happy New Year for everybody and a lot better than the year that we've had this year. Hi, Steve. It has been a shocking year, and that's what we're going to chat about today. What's happened in 2020 at the cabin and what's happened in 2020 a bit further afield. And hopefully we can put all of the rubbishy bits behind us as we go into 2021 in a few days' time. I'm just having a little look to see who else is leaping in. Everyone's having a chit chat in the comments there. Hopefully, technical issues I had on my last one where I couldn't see me on the screen, I've overcome that, so I can actually see me now. so I know I am in the frame. And I think the last live stream that went out, the comments weren't showing on the replay. There was a button that I hadn't ticked. There's thousands and thousands of different settings when you try and do this. And Sod's Law says I didn't click the right button. So hopefully I've done that this time. Hopefully on the replay, you'll get the comments as well. I'm conscious that there's a couple of regular viewers to the channel that are in Australia. They'll be fast asleep right now. So they'll pick up on the live replay and they'll be able to see your comments. A few more people. Cancrum 1. Haven't seen you for ages. How is Bulgaria? And April, hi. I'm looking in the comments to see where Hoot is. Hoot is normally straight in there. So I'm hoping she hasn't forgot and turns up sooner or later. We're a couple of minutes in, so I'm guessing that everybody that's keen and eager is here. Oh, Nellie's there as well. Hi, Nellie. I don't know how I managed to miss you there. There's a couple of you on right now that have commented on the last video. You've got a bit of a bonus day today. I put a video out earlier, a roast pheasant dinner. That was quite nice. I ate a bit too much of that for my own good. And then you got this one, the live stream as well. Solar, hi. Shawnee, thank you very much. Shawnee's just put in a super chat. Thank you very, very much for that. I wasn't really expecting super chats. I kind of outdid myself on the last one and got 3 unexpected super chats and was suitably humbled as I am now. And thank you very much, Shawnee, for that, and wish you the very, very best for 2021. Cancrum's just commented, so I just want to grab that. A lot warmer than the UK. Well, thank you for that. I haven't seen you posting for a while, which is why I was surprised when you popped up on the chat there. Common Man, hi. Cold and cloudy, yeah, it is here. I was amazed by that sudden outpouring of snow the other day. Wasn't really expecting that. And looking at the people driving as I was going down to the cabin, they clearly weren't expecting that either, because there was a lot of this going on down the road. And I was behind a couple of cars as we came up to a junction, and you could see the bewilderment on their faces as they revved the engine to death to set off like they would do normally to speed away, and the car didn't. And they sat there going, what's happened? Why am I not moving? So it's quite amusing to see that. Homestead Australia, are you why aren't you in bed? Surely it must be really late there, but hey, thank you for taking the time to come on. So there's quite a few here now. So we'll launch into the theme for the chat tonight. I have got a couple of little scribbled notes here, so apologies if I do look down from time to time. I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything. So, I mean, in terms of 2020, at the cabin and on the land, I did look back through a few videos. I was going to kind of do a compilation video, but the trouble is downloading videos from YouTube and the time it would have taken to try and edit clips for an entire year, it just seemed an insurmountable task. So I kind of forgot that idea pretty quickly when I realised the scale of it. But there has been a lot achieved this year. As I do look back through the videos, I'm quite... Hoot's arrived. Hi, Hoot. Pleased you could join us. So as I look back through the videos, I am quite astounded at what I have managed to get done this year. And that's not blowing my own trumpet by any means. I am just genuinely shocked, because you might hear me almost every video. I'll say something on the lines of there's never enough time and things take longer than you think, which they do. But when I do look back, there's quite a lot. Back in January, I started off with the original little 8-foot cabin. And then gradually, as the months went by, I kind of went on a bit of a mission to expand my empire. And we had the boxing in of the water containers. Then we had the cabin extension. That was quite difficult, actually, because it's a sizable structure. It's quite bigger than the original cabin. And then, of course, more recently, there's been the addition of the garden room. I really did want something to replace the polytunnel. I'll talk about the polytunnel in a minute, but I kind of quickly realised that the polytunnel that I'd put up had numerous flaws in it, and I wanted something that could go closer to the cabin, so I didn't have to be trailing across a wet field all the time. Wet field, that's something else we'll talk about in a while. So yeah, a lot of building work, construction work done to expand from the original cabin. And I promise that is it now. I'm not going to suddenly start adding more and more extensions. Apart from water, perhaps. The next construction type project will be a chicken hut of some description. Let me just have a quick little look and see who's joined us. Monkey Chops has joined us. Lots of people wondering why Homestead Australia is not in bed. And they're enjoying summer there now that we're in there. That's some of that pheasant. JT, there's not an awful lot of that pheasant left, I'll tell you. Because I didn't want it to go to waste. There is only me, so I thought I kept picking at it after dinner. And you know what it's like when you start. I do like meat, and just having it sat there on the kitchen counter, I just couldn't help myself. I just kept going back and getting some more. So yeah, the next construction type project really will be the chicken coop. I'm busy now trying to source a bit of wood for that. We're still having issues with supply chain, and wood is notoriously expensive here anyway, and the prices have shot up with the supply chain disruption from COVID. So it is difficult to find it at the right price. And of course, getting it delivered is another challenge. Um, you're stuck on the bones, JT. If they're in the bin, I'll have to fish them out and you wouldn't want them. Homestead Australia, timber supply chain is bad everywhere. I'm guessing that's the case because with the COVID, slightly going off topic a bit, with the COVID crisis, everywhere kind of shut down. We saw a massive surge over the last probably month or so in the UK. Our ports were getting blocked up, and that's because suddenly the global supply chain has tried to get back on track, and all of the ships that were being held up in different ports around the world have suddenly just set sail, and they're now arriving. So we did have some issues with blockages in the ports because all of these ships just turned up at the same time, and we couldn't cope. So yeah, I do suspect that will rumble on into 2021 as various countries gradually do start to get back online, and production starts ramping up again. We might see issues with disruptions where the supply chain just gets overloaded rather than there's nothing in it. It's a bit bizarre, but we'll see, I guess. So yeah, next construction project will be the chickens, and I'm not really expecting to have a chicken actually present on the field much before the end of January, because it's going to take me a few weeks to source the timber and to have a little think about what I'm going to build and where I'm going to build it, and then of course get round to actually doing it, which in itself is a bit of a challenge. I'm just having a quick look at the comments while I have a sip of coffee. JT says building materials up by 30%. That's probably about the same as here, to be fair. I mean, we've always been robbed blind. All of our timber comes from outside the UK anyway. There's very little produced internally. So all of our stuff generally tends to come from Scandinavia, which, although it is literally just across the water, a couple of hours away, for some reason it costs the earth. In January, you'll have to heat the chicken coop. Yeah, I'm probably guessing I would. Not quite sure how I would do that. I'm guessing some kind of either a solar electric stove or maybe some kind of kerosene stove. I don't know, but I'll figure that out, I guess. So moving on from the cabin and the various incarnations of it as we've gone through the year. The polytunnel, I mentioned that briefly just now. We had a bit of a disaster with the original polytunnel in the winter stroke New Year this year, where the massive winds that we had just destroyed it and had to rebuild it. There have been a few issues with that as I've gone through the year and I've planted out in there. I had some real good success in getting seedlings away quite early, and they went into the raised beds. But I did have massive issues over the summer. We had an unusually hot and prolonged summer back in sort of June, July. And when I say prolonged, it's probably about 3 to 4 weeks. But that is prolonged for the UK. We don't normally get 3 to 4 weeks of constant hot temperatures, and we did this year. So the challenge for me was really being able to water all of the plants, particularly that tomato forest I had going on in there. I was backwards and forwards at least every second day, just trying to keep on top of the watering. And because I wasn't there every day and I was only there for short periods, I had big issues with the temperature inside the polytunnel. It's supposed to be hot, but it was getting ridiculously hot. Lots of plants were scorched in there. The peas just got hammered almost immediately. And then I had issues with tomatoes, cucumbers. They were all getting scorched. And then, kind of to add to that, the other problem I had, which was a bit of a learning. I've just seen a super chat pop up again. Hoot, thank you very much to help with the chicken coop. I will need help with the chicken coop. Not necessarily in terms of financial contributions, but in labour contributions. I'm going to have to try and rope my boy Sean in to give me another pair of hands. Because quite often, especially with construction, two just isn't enough. We're just having a quick look at the comments. 2 sources of water is definitely a good idea. Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about water shortly. But yes, the problem as I did have with watering was because I didn't have a large enough water supply in the polytunnel. I did get round to getting an irrigation system in and finally got it working on a timer. But 30 litres, which sounds like a lot, that is in the tank in the polytunnel, it just wasn't enough. I was going down every second day and I was finding the tank was empty. And then, of course, I'm having to haul 30 litres out of the cabin into the polytunnel to refill it. And that just went on and on, week after week. And it was becoming a real chore. But the second issue was pollination. Sorry, again, I just got another super chat pop up from JT for the chicken coop. I'll be able to get somebody in at this rate to do it for me. Thank you very much, JT. Yeah, pollination was a major issue, and I have to confess, I do say that all of this is a learning curve, and it is. The whole year has been a massive learning curve, lots of lessons learned, pollination being one of them. Kind of naive, I guess. I expected just nature to take its course. Some things don't need pollination; they'll just produce anyway. But things like tomatoes, cucumbers, they clearly do. And of course, having the polytunnel door closed, there are side vents on that polytunnel to allow ventilation in and heat out. But they've got like a fly screen on them, which is a bit of a flaw in the plan, really, because it stops the insects getting in. And I have to confess, it just didn't enter my head. And it wasn't until I was probably 2 or 3 weeks into seeing the flowers on the tomato plants that I started wondering why there was no fruit. And if you've watched the videos over the year, you'll have seen me in lots of videos saying, millions of flowers, where's the fruit? And clearly that was the issue. So again, a bit of a lesson learned on the polytunnel for the garden room, which will be the main focus for rearing the seedlings and keeping some of the more exotic or plants that need the warmer temperatures. The plan for the polytunnel going into 2021, and I'm sure I've mentioned this in previous videos, the plastic sheeting that covers the polytunnel is coming down. I'm going to get some wood in to strengthen the framework. I do have some damage on that framework, but luckily from the original first polytunnel, I still have a lot of spare tubing left. So anything that is damaged, I should be able to replace, and then I'll strengthen it with wood. And the plan is to just have some kind of netting over it so that plants inside the polytunnel have something to cling on to and grow up the polytunnel. And it will just be open to the elements. I might have issues with critters. Well, in fact, I'm sure I'll have issues with critters because I did this year. But again, a little construction project for 2021 I'm toying with the idea of putting up a secondary fence around all of the garden area. Simple hammer posts into the ground and then just string chicken wire across. That should keep the rabbits out, which are probably the biggest pest. Won't necessarily keep squirrels out, but I don't honestly think that they're the ones that have been doing the damage. The netting hopefully should solve the bird problem, which just leaves us really with things like butterflies and caterpillars. And short of putting fleece over everything, I don't think there's a great deal I can do about that. But it will be on my mind as I go into 2021. Let me just have a little look at the comments. Jules, hi, welcome. Matter of rain we've had in the UK lately, you wouldn't have any trouble watering. No, I wouldn't, and I've bemoaned that in probably the last 10 or 15 videos. I am tired of looking at a muddy field. Julie, hi there, welcome. Crew veg for the first time this year. Weather went extreme. It was nice to go into the yard and pick your veg. It is really nice. Those last potatoes that I harvested just the other week were fabulous. I had those today with the pheasant. Really, really tasty potatoes. I'm going to have to remember which ones I used and get some more of those in. Just a quick look, see if there's anybody else. If I have missed anybody while I've been on my monologue, apologies. Just pop up again on the comments if I've not said hi, and I will say hi. The raised beds, a lot of success and some failure with those. Biggest failures, I guess, broccoli. Broccoli was a major disappointment, and I'm still in two minds now whether or not to do the broccoli again in the new year. Absolutely, yes, potatoes, carrots, more onions. I've already got garlic in, and I think some other root veg, turnips and Swedes, they spring to mind. If anybody's got any suggestions, feel free to stick them in the comments as to what I might want to grow next year. I mentioned potatoes. I am definitely going to try and germinate some of those true potato seeds. I now have 2 years worth of seed that I've harvested from potato berries. So if anybody would like some of those and have a little experiment along with me, just feel free to reach out and say, and give me some kind of contact email or something so I can get in touch for your address. Don't put your address on the comments. But if you would, let me know you would, and we'll find a way somehow of communicating so that I can get an address, and I'll send you some of those true potato seeds. I have no idea how they will turn out, but I am hopeful. Looking at, there's I think I've mentioned it in a previous video, there's a girl in Austria. She has a channel called Talk to Martin and another one called Survival Lily, which is a survivalist channel. She does that all the time, all year round. She's planting true potato seeds, thousands of the things in different varieties. So I've been looking at that channel to get some tips as to how to do it. And I think it would just be interesting because come a real something hit the fan scenario, potato tubers are going to be in extremely short supply. So you're going to have a real problem finding seed potatoes. So if you have the original true potato seeds, you can produce your own little tubers to plant out and grow your crop. So I am interested in doing that. I didn't get around to it this year, but I will definitely. And if anyone wants some, just let me know. What went wrong with the broccoli, Jules says. Apart from butterflies and caterpillars, which also got the cauliflower, I'm not really sure. I think that I planted the wrong kind of broccoli. Instead of having a large broccoli head with lots of florets on it, the one I planted, it was a purple rather than green variety, and it just produced single florets on a stalk rather than a big head, if that makes sense. I also found that when we got into that really wet period, which we're still in now, we must have had about 5 months of that now. I was having problem with both broccoli and cauliflower rotting, but the broccoli was just a complete failure. Very, very little in terms of florets growing on them, and they went to seed within a matter of almost days. I would see something at the weekend and think, next weekend I'll pick that. And when I went back the following weekend, it had gone to seed. So the wrong type of broccoli, I suspect. A bit of a schoolboy error on my part. But as with everything else, it's been a learning experience, and I am learning an awful lot as I go along. Let me just have a quick look through the comments and make sure I'm not missing anything. Homestead Australia is going to town. Have a good time and Happy New Year to you too. Sola says the deer scoffed all her carrots this year. Him. You saw my deer, I'm presuming, on the field this year. I'm suspecting that's what was eating my fruit tree, the bark on my fruit trees. I suspect that they might not survive those trees. I've got my fingers crossed, but they were really, really stripped. So I'll be stunned if they do start to put out shoots this year. Potato seeds, Shawnee. Yes, by all means, I'll get in touch with you and I'll send you some out. Have you even thought of planting nut trees? I have got hazelnuts on there. I think I planted 10. I can't remember if it was December or January. But I did plant them around where I dug the original pond. Again, they were attacked by, I presume, the deer. And then we had that really drought spell, and most of them appear to have died off. I was looking maybe about a month ago, I think, and out of the 10, I think there were 3 that still had leaf on. So I did try. There are some there. We'll see what survives out of that original crop. But yes, hazelnuts, I really do like hazelnuts. If you've watched previous videos, you'll have seen me making roasted hazelnuts and the hazelnut chocolate spread. I'm looking forward to doing that in 2021. I don't think I'll do it off my own hazelnuts. And the sauce I had for hazelnuts this year has disappeared. But yeah, hazelnuts would be something that I would like to buy more of and plant. I think a mission on tree planting, you've seen me with the cuttings for the elderberries. I'm going to collect some more of those in February, March time and try plant those out. So Isaac, you've planted walnuts. Be picked from a tree. Okay. I'm not sure what climate you're in. I don't know whether walnuts would work here or not. Sola went on a course to see how to skin and butcher deer. It is a skill. I said that in the video today that we would need if something does hit the fan, because your regular meat supply is going to stop, and you're either going to be hunting for wild food or you're going to be rearing your own livestock. But either way, you are, I'm sorry to say, going to have to at some point kill those and butcher them, which includes either plucking or skinning and clearing out the insides. So it is something that's well worth experimenting with. Even if you don't go out and catch something, you can buy things like rabbits and pheasants and pigeons from game butchers. So why not just go get one and give it a try one day? There's lots and lots of channels. My mate Covid Hunter has some really good videos on butchering wild food. So why not one day just go buy one if you can't catch one and give it a go. It's not as easy as you might think. What else have we got? Try another type of broccoli. Yeah. Sean, like to try the potatoes? Yep. Okay. I'll make a note at the end of the live chat of who's interested, and I'll reach out to try and get some contact details from you. Good. Of course it was deer. I remember you helping you, Bambi. I'm not sure it was Bambi that was eating my trees, but I suspect it was deer. Maybe it was Bambi's mum or dad. I've not seen the deer since then. I've seen lots in fields coming and going to the land, because I passed probably about 4 or 5 fields where I regularly see deer. So they are obviously migrating around the fields nearby to me. I've just not seen them again on my field. But having said that, I hadn't seen Bambi up until that day. And had it not had its accident, I probably never would have seen, I presume it's a her. But they are there. I would like them to make a permanent home. Maybe I could fence them in on my field. Who else we got? Julie says it would be a nice idea to share our tips for growing veg. It would. If anybody has got tips and tricks, please do stick them in the comment section, because the whole point of having a kind of a YouTube prepping community is to knowledge share. There'll be lots of people, no doubt, that visit the channel that know far more on a particular subject than I do. So, don't be shy. Stick your comments in the comment section and let us all share from, your knowledge and experience. Lots of exchange of chat going on, which is very, very nice. Bait your field with deer corn and they will come. Well, talking about corn, the wildlife feeder, I still haven't moved it. I keep meaning to, and I keep talking about it, but I still haven't got round to it yet. And I really must do it before I go back to work next week. I do want to get it closer to the cabin for ulterior motives. But I do want to start attracting the pheasants and the pigeons again. So yeah, I will be moving that feeder at some point. There's always something else that comes along. And if you look at recent videos, I do easily get distracted. I will tell you that I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then all of a sudden, something completely different appears on the video. I just can't help myself sometimes. JT says my son has deer tromping through his neighbourhood. Multiple tracks behind his townhouse, mum and 2 babies. They have no fear of people. Where does he live then? Unless the people are feeding them, of course. Because with all wildlife, if you feed them, they will get used to that and get used to you moving around. I know that the damned crows on the field, they've got used to me moving around now. And unless you make a point of going up to them, they'll just sit there and laugh at you as you're walking across the field. Where was I? I went off on a tangent. Raised beds. So I had a lot of success and some failures. So I'm learning from the failures, as we all should. And the successes, I'll be redoubling my efforts. So I'll be planting a lot more potatoes, a lot more carrots. I kind of have an idea now of quantities to plant to get sufficient harvest. So whether I'll achieve it or not, the objective in 2021 for me is to try and plant sufficient and at the right stage through the year, so that I can get succession crop all the way through the year, and then a bit of a doubling up kind of exercise as we head towards September, October time, so that I can hopefully have enough to harvest and then store to see me through the kind of December, January when nothing's growing and nothing's coming out the ground. Bit ambitious, but if you don't try, you don't know, do you? So we'll see how we get on. Just had a quick look. Did the purple sprout and broccoli this year? They turned out okay. but I'm doing Calibres. Okay, that's Ash commenting there. Yeah, the purple one just didn't work for me. So I'll try a different approach. I'll try the green big-headed broccoli variety, but not quite as much, I don't think. I do eat broccoli. I mean, I buy it all the time. I'm just not quite sure in terms of bang for buck, the amount of effort required in terms of growing the seedlings, planting out, trying to keep the critters off. Whether that's worth the effort in terms of return, the amount of broccoli heads you get. And broccoli doesn't really last that long once you've harvested it, unlike potatoes and carrots or turnips and swede. I don't know. I'll have a little think about it and see. Shawnee's got lots of rabbits in her yard, and that's why they're not afraid of people, because they feed them. Hedgehog, thank you very much for your comment. Yeah, it has been a real learning experience this year, and I hope my mistakes have kind of tipped you off as to what not to do. And if you've seen stuff that is working and you want to replicate that, I mean, that's what it's for. I try to, everything I do, I try to show you as it is in real life. It's not, there's nothing edited at all. And sometimes on the video, you'll hear me say, oh, this is the joy of live video because I've just made a mess of it. But I try to show it as it is. And so anything that's on there is stuff that I am actually doing for real. And it either works or it doesn't. If it does, then great. And if it doesn't, then I'll try a different approach. So yeah, raised beds, lots of results. And I'm going to try and expand on that in the coming year. And lots more pot growing for all the potatoes and carrots, and turn over some more bed space to other roots, and whatever else you might suggest in the comments section. If there's something that you think is really good, and you do get that bang for buck in terms of amount of harvest from effort put in, let me know. I know a few people have suggested kale in different videos, and to be honest, it's not something that I've had. It looks like a cabbage. You're all going to say shame on you now that I don't know what kale is. I do know where it is. I've never eaten it, so I don't know how it is. What do you do with potatoes once harvested to keep them from rotting? Good question, actually. Once you take them out of the ground, resist the temptation to clean them. You'll have seen those little purple and black or blue and black mesh trays that I put the potatoes and carrots into. I'll just take them as they are. I'll wipe off gently any big clumps of soil, but I'll leave the soil on them in those trays, and then the air can circulate through the mesh. And I just put them in a cool, dark place. Give them a couple of days for the skins to set, and then once the skins have set, you can then not be afraid of putting them into a bag. If you do that first, the jumbling around in the bag will rub the skins, and that encourages them to rot. So leave them for a couple of days, just aerating, before you put them in a bag, and keep them in a cool, dark place, and they do last quite a long time. Grow some veg in containers. I've got a hot summer again. Yeah, that is an advantage of growing in pots, that you can actually move them. If they are getting too much direct sun, because they're in pots, you just pick them up and move them somewhere else. And of course, if they're in pots, you know roughly what you're going to get when you tip the pot. This is Isaac. Will you add another water container storage? Yes, absolutely, I will. I've been talking about it in a couple of videos. When I was doing the watering in the polytunnel over the summer, when we had that really hot spell, I quickly realised it was on my list of things, actually. I've not got off the first page, but water is in this little list, so I'll cover it now. There's 2 tanks, 1,000 litres per tank, which have been overflowing now for months because they're full. And it might sound like a lot of water. When I originally put the water in, my main focus was I was thinking about drinking water, the old 3 litres per person per day scenario. And I looked at 2,000 litres and I thought, well, that's ample. I'm going to have water forever. But of course, again, schoolboy error, I didn't really think about the garden. Most of it was outside. The raised beds are all outside, so they would get rain. It would only be the polytunnel that I needed to think about. How wrong was I? And that 2,000 litres rapidly dropped. I mean, if I was doing just 30 litres in the polytunnel, roughly every 2 days, probably more than 30 litres actually, because I'm topping up every second day. I was probably using the same amount out on the raised beds. So you're talking about, I don't know, 40, 50 litres a day just going onto the garden. So your 2,000 litres disappears very, very quickly. So yeah, IBC containers I definitely do want. I now have additional roof catchment from the garden room. So at some point, I'm not going to promise, but at some point soon, there'll be some guttering going up on the garden room so that I can divert the water into some kind of storage. The IBC totes, they're quite expensive to get hold of, and getting hold of IBC containers that have been used but only been used for food, that's difficult. Nearly everything that you see on the kind of second-hand market is chemicals or petroleum products, stuff you don't want to be using for drinking water or for gardening, watering. So I am always on the lookout. I have people also looking out for me. So hopefully I'll be getting a couple more of those over the coming months. In the meantime, I have got some 100-litre barrels that I could put up as a temporary measure on that on the garden room roof. So yeah, water really is critical. And yep, again, naive. I forgot all about watering. I was too busy focusing on me as a person and how much I would drink. JT's asking about sunshade above the polytunnel during the hottest weeks. Yeah, good tip. I'll have the netting over it. But you're right. I think, given what happened this year, some kind of screening will be needed if we have a repeat of this year's summer. Just having a quick look through to see if there's anything else. Everyone's talking about taking vitamins. They're in my preps. I've got about 2 years' worth supply of vitamins. Monkey chops. Anyone in the UK keep quail instead of chickens? There is a guy. It's called Oxygen Farmer, and he subscribes to the channel. I've not seen him crop up on here. He probably is in bed because he's in Australia. But yeah, monkey chops. If you have a look, Oxygen Farmer. He's literally just now hatching out quail. So if you look at his last few videos, you'll see the process of the eggs going into the incubator and the baby quail hatching out. So you might get some tips from there. I'm kind of talking about chickens because I know what they are. I know what they do. I've had them before in a previous life. And they will eat pretty much anything. Not been an expert in other birds, I suspect they don't just eat anything, and you're going to have to buy lots of grain for them. Lovely meat on quail, something I would like to do because they're little babies, they're small and manageable. But I'm going for chickens first. But yeah, if you want to know about quail, have a look at that Oxygen Farmer channel because he's literally doing it right now. Hoot's saying didn't know the UK had quail. We don't in the wild. but people are rearing them as a meat source, either personally or as a business. Yeah, nice and tasty, but I'll do my chickens first and see how I get on with them. Where are we on the time? God, it's 45 minutes already, and I've not even got off the first page. I've talked about weather already, so I'll not talk about weather again. Issues I've had over this last year. I've had lots. Sorry, my phone's going. It's on silent, but it vibrates. I've had lots of issues this year. The solar system, you'll have seen me talk about that in recent videos. I originally put up 2 panels, so that's 200 watts collection and into the battery. Over the summer, that went really well. I was regularly at 14 volts in the battery bank. Sounds a bit odd, that, since it's 12 volt batteries, but it does. It's 14 and a half is not unusual. But yeah, this last few months, as we've had all of this rain and cloud and fog, the daylight hours and the ability of the panels to generate electricity has dropped really dramatically. So you'll know from previous videos, just this last few weeks, I ordered a 3rd panel, and then I debated with myself and thought, just bite the bullet. So I have another one, and I'm hoping, because it's on track and trace, I'm hoping that's going to come tomorrow. So if it does, then by the end of this week, before I go back to work, hopefully I'll have 2 more panels on the cabin roof. So I'll then have doubled my generation capacity. It'll have gone from 200 watts to 400 watts. And hopefully that will solve the problem of the winter months. I guess time will tell. I'll see what it generates through December. Well, we nearly finished December, through January, February. But hopefully I'm expecting a big jump in battery levels. Water, kind of talked about that already. I quickly realised through that drought period this year that the 2,000 litres just isn't enough if you're going to be growing any reasonable sized garden. And if I'm going to go and push the envelope this year and try and get a full year's worth of harvest, I'm guessing I'm going to have to double that at least. The pond idea has not died. It's just fallen by the wayside because of COVID and the lousy weather we've had this last 4 or 5 months. That will get revisited at some point in 2021, because I also want to do some drainage ditch work and try and avoid standing water in the field. It does gather round where the original pond was dug, but doesn't go into the pond or the drainage ditch. I don't know where it's going. It's probably going my cabin, because that is really wet around the cabin. Just have a quick look and see if anybody's put in. Did you get the cable? Yes, I did get the cable, solar cable. Yeah, so water, definitely an issue, and a secondary source would be great. I did toy with the idea of trying to dig a well, and then I saw how much it cost to get somebody in to do that, and thought again. I did look on Amazon and eBay. You can get some hand augers, but they only go down 8-10 meters. I suspect you probably have to go a bit deeper than that to get to the water table. So I don't know. I might revisit that in 2021. There's just so much stuff. Heating, the wood burning stove, love that stove. I did have an issue though, you'll know if you've been watching the videos. It did start to back up and not have a draw to burn properly, and the smoke was coming back into the cabin. I was stunned when I dismantled the chimney and saw how much kind of soot and carbon and tar and whatever else is in there. I was stunned. I mean, it was almost half the diameter of the pipe was clogged up. Again, schoolboy error, naive, whatever it is. There's a lesson learned there. I had no idea that it would do that so quickly, especially burning what is clean wood. It's not like I was cutting down wet trees and sticking them in there to burn. But yeah, I was stunned how much carbon buildup there was in the chimney. Um, Got that cleared out, so that's not an issue. I know to look for that now in the future, and I know the right way to disassemble a stove and to clean it all out to get it working again, which it is now. It's drawing beautifully now. Um, if anything, I'm going to have to close that little damper on the chimney because it's drawing way too much. It's almost like a furnace, and I'm getting through the wood, which is another point. I am going to have to find a good source of firewood in bulk so that I can start to stockpile that. Again, a lesson learned from using the stove this year is how much wood you actually get through. I've seen lots of channels. Our American cousins, there's quite a few channels I subscribe to there. And when you look at their homestead at the side, you'll see almost a garage size store of wood. And I used to look at that thinking, there's no way you're going to get through all of that. You must be prepping for something hit the fan. And that's your like 2-year reserve. Clearly it isn't. Because you do get through it at a rapid rate of knots. So again, that's something I've learned this year. Also learned that you need a backup, and you'll have seen me install that diesel heater. They are really good. I mean, I had that one anyway from my camper van, and it's an easy to install. It's all self-contained. Diesel fuel is plentiful supply now, and if you were to stockpile it, because diesel will store for quite a long time, if you just rotate it out every, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months. I mean, I use diesel in my car, so for me it's easy. I can just take a can of diesel that's been stored and just throw it in the car, and what I would normally put in the car, put into the can and store it. So it makes sense for me to use diesel. You can also get diesel water heaters. So that would be an alternative if you didn't have propane or a water tank on your wood burning stove. So yeah, backup source. I've got my diesel heater now, so if it's just a chilly morning but you're not expecting cold temperatures through the day, I can just flick the switch for an hour or so, warm up the cabin, rather than setting a fire and using all of that wood. Because even after the chill of the early morning has gone, your fire is still going for several hours afterwards. So it's a bit of a waste. So it's a good alternative source of heating. A quick look in the comments, see if I've missed anything. Looks like some people are talking about COVID. A lot of comments about COVID. So Shawnee's talking about how much wood she burns. Yeah, I was really stunned. I didn't expect to get through as much wood as I did. So I will be looking for a bulk source, and I will start to store that now. I'll find a little space somewhere and make a little bit of a shelter for it, and start to store. Other issues, I've mentioned this a couple of times, I guess, is time. I don't know how many videos I've said there's never enough hours in the day, and there isn't. Everything does take a lot longer than you expect. I've kind of launched into the cabin build, the various extensions, the garden room. And even though I've gained experience as I've done each of those builds, I still overestimate the amount of time that it takes to actually get stuff done. I mentioned in a recent video as well about prioritizing. I've already said in this live chat that it's easy for me to get distracted. I'll go down with the intent of doing something, and I'll maybe list off 3 or 4 things in my cabin chats that I fancy doing. And then I'll see something and go, that needs doing. Maybe I'll do that now. So it is easy to get distracted, and you really do need to prioritize. A classic example is a recent video I did about the wastewater pipe coming out of the cabin. That's something that had been on my mind for months, and I kept meaning to get around to it. There was always something else that came along that seemed more important. Had I not done that this past week, I'd have been having problems now, because we've got ice and snow and we're heading into some really cold temperatures where I wouldn't have been able to dig the ground. So yeah, time and prioritizing. Don't put stuff off, otherwise you will forget, and then soon something will happen and you'll go, oh no, I didn't do that, and it'll be too late by then. Capability, personal capability, that's another issue I've had this year. I've mentioned that in this live chat as well. We're having more than one pair of hands. You think you can do stuff, and you probably can, but it is going to be a struggle. If you're moving large timbers, as I was when I was doing the raised beds in the garden room, okay, I can pick them up, and it's a bit of a balancing act. You've got to find the centre to get it balanced, because they are damned heavy. But it would be easier with an extra pair of hands. I've come away several times over the past year, and I've needed a few days to rest and recover, because the arms or the shoulders or the back, I've tried to do too much. I've overestimated my capabilities, and I've launched into something and then regretted it the morning after. So don't just assume that you can do things, and if you can get an extra pair of hands, then do, because you only have one back. Once it's gone, it's gone. So that's the cabin, which really just leaves us with things that have gone on this year in the wider world. So a quick look before I launch into that. JT says, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Yes, please do, because I never say that in the videos. And I think the Google algorithm kind of works on activity within the channel. So whether it's a thumbs up, thumbs down, or whatever it is, it kind of monitors. And the more activity you have, the higher up the rankings you go. And then your videos get suggested in the little what you should be watching next bar on YouTube. So yeah, please do hit the thumbs up button. I say it in my recorded videos, but I never say it on the live chats. Monkey Chops, more prediction videos coming. I can't be the only one that loves them. I suspect there's a lot of stuff will happen in 2021. So some of the first videos, I think, in 2021 will be a bit like that live chat I did about predictions for 2021. There is an awful lot of stuff going on. And some of that, which is my last piece of paper, is on the subject of global issues. Some of the things that have happened in 2020 are going to continue in 2021, I feel fairly sure. Look on Google Earth, you'll see Sound of Jura. Is that where you are, Sola? It's Scotland, yeah? Somebody must be talking about chickens, because JT's talking about chickens going on roofs 35 feet in the air. I haven't seen the comments. Clip the wings, I guess, is the the thing to do. They'll not be going anywhere then, all off the ground anyway. So yeah, I'm conscious of the time. We're at almost an hour now. It's 59 minutes that we've been on. I hope you're not bored with it already. So I'll launch into the global issues, and we'll see how long this takes. We've had lots of things this year. Some of the biggest things. I'm the chicken, JT says. I didn't see what you were talking about in the comments, so I had no idea. Julia says, no, not bored. Thank you. Good. There's clearly a conversation going on somewhere that I'm not privy to because I've not been reading all the comments. Biggest ones, food insecurity. I've done videos on that before. Hedgehog's not bored either. Good. Monkey chops. Yeah, I am. I've said this in a few videos, and I do actually mean it. I mean, I'm not doing YouTube because I like being on camera, because I don't. It took me about 6 months to actually stick my head on one of them. I'm doing it really to try and get a UK prepper community built up. And I know, American cousins, don't fall out with me because I said UK community. You're still part of the community. But prepping in the UK is not mainstream as it is in the States and in other countries for that matter. And it would be nice to try and raise the profile of prepping, can't even say it, prepping here in the UK. COVID has helped us with that because people have woken up to the fragility of the supply chain. Many of them will have just discounted it again by now because everything's back in the shops and they'll not even give it a second thought. But I'm hoping that some of them will give it a second thought and think, you know what, if that happened this year because of COVID, could it happen again? And should I be doing something about it other than stocking toilet paper? Don't do that. So yeah, I'm trying to raise the profile and build a little community. It's not about me and my ego for sure. Because it is difficult doing this. You do invest a lot of time to get the videos done and edited and uploaded, especially with my internet connection. But I am really trying to build a little community of like-minded prepping people. I digress again. So yeah, global issues. Food insecurity is probably the biggest one. We saw lots of problems last year with droughts, floods, pests. We saw lots of issues this year with droughts, floods, and pests and diseases. It is only a matter of time before that impacts on the supply chain. Things that you get in the supermarket, canned goods, whether that's meat, veggies, whatever, you're not buying stuff that was manufactured last week or last month. You're buying stuff that was manufactured last year or indeed the year before. That's why you have 4 and 5 year shelf lives on cans. So at some point that will catch up and the supply chain will take a dip and you'll start to see things that are missing that are normally plentiful, or you'll see the price going up because they're not plentiful anymore. So food insecurity, that's been a major issue this year. And of course, COVID impacted on that as well. COVID wasn't just about the medical issue. That was the one that got the biggest amount of attention because clearly some people were dying. But COVID also impacted on the supply chain, whether that was because the ports and airports suddenly closed down and stuff wasn't moving around the world anymore, or whether that's because individual businesses were shut down on the orders of the government, or individual businesses were shut down because their staff were sick and or had to go into isolation. So again, that had an impact on the food supply chain. One other thing that COVID impacted on, and I've mentioned this in a couple of previous videos as well, is personal freedom, your rights as an individual. We're not as big per se here in the UK as our American cousins are. We don't have that constitution. Quite often I wish we did have that constitution, because at least it does afford you some inalienable rights, as they say, to do stuff. We don't have that here in the UK. We do have a kind of an old constitution from the Magna Carta back in, I can't even think what year that was. Somebody can tell me, they can Google it. But it's hundreds of years ago. But it's nowhere near on par with the constitution that the Americans have. But all of a sudden this year, we've seen government turn around and say, you can't go to that shop, or you can't go to work, or you can't mix with friends and family, or you can't go to the cinema, or a whole range of stuff that is completely alien to us. You wouldn't have dreamt last year that people would be telling you that you can't go shopping or to the cinema or to the pub. You would just laugh if somebody said that last year. And yet here we are in 2020, and we've had it pretty much all of this year. And indeed, government's only been on TV today and added some more restrictions to parts of the country that weren't on lockdown. So yeah, personal freedoms. Are they going to withdraw all of these rules and laws that they've brought in this year once COVID goes away, or will they keep them tucked in the back pocket for use for some other purpose? Or is that a bit conspiratorial? Let me know. US elections, just because it's US doesn't mean it doesn't affect us, because it does. The person in the White House does impact on the world stage quite dramatically. It is the superpower globally at the moment. So it is interesting to see who does get in. There's been a huge furore. It's caused a massive division in the US. And I've seen lots of comments from American subscribers. Complete chaos in places. What will happen with the inauguration in January? And if the new president-elect takes office, how is that going to impact foreign policy and impact on us here in the UK or in other countries? Because it will. The decisions that they make will impact further than just the United States. A quick look in the comments. People suggesting channels to look at. If you have got suggestions, please do stick them in the comments, because there are an awful lot of channels out there. I keep plugging various channels, not because I necessarily know them all. I do COVID Hunter, of course, but it's because I've seen interesting things on there that you might benefit from. So please don't be shy of putting channel suggestions on there. Monkey Chops. Never imagined my wife would come home with extra shopping for the overflow stocks. Keep storing food, if nothing else. How long have you been prepping, Hoot? Tell us all. Sean, thank you. Magna Carta 1215. So yeah, a long time ago. But there is a bit of a revival of interest in that lately. I mean, it is a sketchy document, and it's worded in oldie worldy English, which doesn't help. But I think there's a small number of people kind of waking up to how much new legislation has been brought in and how much our freedoms have been impacted on this year. And maybe some of them are a bit suspicious like me and just wondering if they're going to get cancelled when COVID finishes, or are they going to use those laws later? Quick look. Canadian Prepper. Yeah, I subscribe to Canadian Prepper. City Prepping. Everyone's talking about how long they've been prepping. Last one on the global issues. It's not actually a global issue. It's a UK issue. but hopefully will have an impact globally. And that's Brexit. I talked about that in the cabin chat just the other day. Tomorrow at midnight, finally, we will leave the European Union completely. That will have an impact, even though the terms that have been agreed, the impact shouldn't be huge. But no doubt there'll be lots of negotiation about the minutiae of the detail as we go into 2021. I'm not really expecting. There's been lots of scare stories this year about, oh, Brexit, 31st December, all the ports are going to be closed, nothing will move, and we get X percentage of our food from the EU. Yes, we do. This time of year, because it's winter and we can't grow lettuce and tomatoes. Well, we can, but not in enough quantity. So we do depend on the EU for product. But then we always have. We buy BMWs from Germany, Mercedes from Germany. We buy lots of stuff from the EU, and it's not going to stop just because of Brexit. And we now know that there won't be tariffs, so that's good. Quick look. We will run out of cauliflowers due to Brexit. We might, because we don't grow them now. Yeah, so that's kind of a roundup, really, of 2020. Hopefully, there was something in there that made you chuckle or made you think and made it worthwhile for hanging in there. It's been over the hour that I normally spend, but I'm happy to keep chatting. Nelly says, love Europe, but hate the EU. Yeah, absolutely. I have worked in Germany for a few years. I've travelled all over the EU, worked in Bulgaria, Macedonia, Greece, Albania even. So yeah, I love Europe, and I love, the food and the beer in Germany particularly. But yeah, the EU is not what it was back in the 70s. Its original intent was a trading bloc, and it's morphed out of all proportion into a political project to essentially dominate the 27 members of the EU. And no, thank you. Anyway, steer clear of politics. So that was 2020, the year that was. And it finishes tomorrow at midnight, and I hope we can look forward to a bigger, better, brighter 2021. I'll take your comments on board, and I will be doing some videos early January about what I think might happen. I've covered some of it already in previous videos. I'll go back through the comments and look for people who wanted the tree potato seeds, and I'll get in touch and get your contact details and send those. If you're just joining in, or if you didn't say yes, do that in the comments, and I'll get you some out there as well. I'm pushing ever closer to this magical 2,000 subscriber mark. It keeps going up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm not quite there. The last I looked, it was 1,995. So, as I say in all my videos, please do feel free to subscribe. There are quite a few people looking at the stats that view but aren't subscribed. Go on, subscribe, and let me get past that 2,000 mark. That is about the only thing that's ego related. I would just love to see the subscribers in the thousands, and that 2,000 is just, it's irritating now. It's so close and has been for so long. I really would like to push past it. Anyway, I'm conscious of the time. Somebody is trying to get hold of me on the phone. So I'll say thank you very much for the year that we've had together, for all of the time you've spent viewing the channel and your comments on the videos, and more recently for the live streams. Hope you had a very, very Merry Christmas, and look forward to wishing you a very, very happy new year in 2021. I hope that we have a far better year than we have had this year. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please do stay safe and enjoy this little bit of a break, and all the best for 2021. And with that, I'll sign off, and I'll have a little look back through the comments for the people who want the true potato seeds. But thanks again for spending the time with me today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.